we're going to do my favorite kind of adding. This is how I learned how to add when I was a kid, and this is probably how a lot of parents learned how to add when they were kids. Some people think of this kind of as the old-fashioned way. It's really useful, but you can still also use all of those other strategies that we've learned if you prefer those instead. Here's the steps. Step number 1 is to estimate the sum. So that's use rounding to figure out what your answer will be. Step number 2 is line up the numbers correctly. That step's really important, and I'll show you a trick for how to do it. Step number 3, you add the ones column. Step number 4, you add the tens column. Step number 5, you add the hundreds column. And step number 6 gets forgotten a lot, but it is important. That's check your answer by seeing if it's close to your estimate. Okay, let's try one of these together. So the first thing I'm going to do is step number 1, and that's estimating. And if I estimate, then I can figure out later on if my answer's in the right ballpark. So 236 is closer to 200 than it is to 300. So I'm going to round that to 200. And 585 is closer to 600 than it is to 500. So I'll round that to 600. When I do that, I then have 200 plus 600, and that'll give me an estimate of 800. Okay, now that I've done step number 1, I can move to numbers 2. And step number 2 is that I need to make sure to line up my numbers correctly. So I'm going to stack 236 and 585 on top of each other. Okay, right here I have 236 and 585 stacked on top of each other. Now if I'm trying to check if I stack these up neatly enough, I can use a pencil to do this. I kind of call this one the pencil trick. So you're going to take your pencil and see if it covers a whole column. And it did. Let me try the next one. Okay, it covers that whole column too. Let me try the last one over here. Yep, it covers my whole hundreds column too. If those are not lined up, so that the hundreds are on top of the hundreds, and the tens are on top of the tens, and the ones are on top of the ones, then you're not going to get an accurate answer. You'll probably get the wrong answer. So let's go ahead and start adding these. Whenever I use this strategy, I have to make sure I do the steps in order. Step number 3 says add the ones column. So I take 6 and I add it to 5. That gives me 11. I'm going to write a 1 for the ones place and carry the 1 from the tens place to be up here. I do that because when I have the number 11, it's not just a regular old 1 and a 1. This stands for 1, but that other one stood for a set of 10. So that other set of 10 needs to come over here. You'll see that same thing is about to happen when we get a set of hundreds. So I have 1 plus 3 plus 8, and that's going to give me 12. So you'll see that I'll write my 2 down here, but that other one, the one from the 12, actually stands for a set of 100, so I have to move it over here. Alright, so I wrote the 1 up there. Now I add 1 plus 2 plus 5, and that's going to give me 8. And there you have it. Our answer is 821. We can't forget that very important last step, number 6. Check to see if your answer is close to the estimate. I'm looking at 821, and I'm looking at 800, and I see that those are pretty close numbers. So that tells me that my answer of 821 sounds reasonable. It's probably the correct answer.